Chapter 3730. 1 Second Order Universe Lord Realm Angel, 6 First Order Sovereign Realm Battle Angels, and a million-strong angel army. There were more than 100 pinnacle venerable realm battle angels in the universe. The harvest this time could increase the number of venerable realm disciples in the Dragon Palace by 200 to 300. This was simply a huge harvest. This was faster than searching for resources on thousands of habitable planets. Moreover, Wuxia had obtained a lot of resources and treasures from this angel. These resources and treasures were comparable to the harvest of hundreds of habitable planets. This was a huge profit. He grinned and couldn't help but laugh. However, I have to do this often. I can't do it continuously. He mumbled to himself. After killing this angel, Wuxia did not intend to continue with the mission. When a sovereign realm angel was killed, the angel race might suspect that he had encountered a powerful giant space beast. But if powerful angels were killed one after another, the angel clan would definitely investigate it. Wuxia didn't have the capability to go against them. After this operation, it would take at least another 100 years for him to carry out another operation. It was better to be safe than sorry. Similarly, the Phoenix race was the same. After 100 years, he was prepared to carry out another wave. Now he had to go to the starry universe to look for resources. Wuxia planned in his heart. Although it was good to kill the experts from the angel race and the Phoenix race, they were still peak races. He had to be careful. Just as Wuxia left and the angel was killed by him, the angel tribe received the news. They immediately sent experts to investigate the situation. Every sovereign realm angel was the core combat power of the angel race. Once there was a trace, they had to investigate. Was it devoured by the giant space beast, or did something else happen? However, in the starry universe, the rules and energy of the universe were different. Some methods couldn't be used. Wuxia didn't care if the angel race would investigate. At this moment, he was already flying very far in one direction. My current position shouldn't be too far from the exit. I'll continue to go deeper. Wuxia continued flying forward, searching for habitable planets one after another. Time passed quickly. 50 years was just a snap of the fingers. I'm 1/5 of the way to the resources for the next upgrade. This isn't slow. Wuxia floated above a planet and mumbled to himself. He rested for a while, looked ahead and continued flying. After flying for another day, he looked ahead and saw 2 planets with life in the sky. This made him smile. With a swift movement, Wuxia flew over immediately. There are more treasures on these 2 life planets. Wuxia sized them up and revealed a smile on his face. He began to collect them quickly. Suddenly, a roar reverberated through the air. Wuxia, who was collecting resources, was taken aback. He instantly flew up into the sky. Boom boom boom. In the next moment, a giant astral beast with countless claws flew over at high speed, exuding a violent aura. When Wuxia saw it, his eyes narrowed and his face was filled with vigilance. This star beast's strength has reached the sovereign level. His body moved and he quickly retreated. A star beast at the level of a sovereign was no longer something that Wuxia could deal with. With the suppression of the world origin, he could only escape. Run. Without any hesitation, Wuxia turned and fled into the distance. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. In the next moment he sensed horrifying tentacles flying towards him. These tentacles broke away from the body of the giant astral beast at an abnormally terrifying speed. Damn. Wuxia looked over and was shocked and furious. He unleashed the unbeginning sacred wings to the maximum and flew away at high speed. Lingling. Sensing the speed of the tentacles, he willed Lingling to appear beside him. Boost. He shouted again and Lingling immediately boosted him. With Lingling's boost, Wuxia's speed increased a little. Dark Ghost Doppelganger. At the same time, he summoned the Dark Ghost Doppelganger and fled in different directions. Behind him, hundreds of tentacles had locked onto him and were closing in rapidly. These tentacles are so fast. Wuxia's expression changed. In just 10 seconds, they had caught up to him. Dark Dragon Conversion. His body trembled. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. The sound of the tentacles whizzing could be heard. In the next instant, Wuxia disappeared. If he did not leave this place, he would definitely be severely injured. Run. Wang Xian switched to another dark ghost doppelganger and continued to flee. I got rid of it. After flying for some distance, he heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that the giant galactic beast did not continue its pursuit. That giant galactic beast found me so quickly. I didn't even notice it. He mumbled to himself as his eyes shone brightly. He hesitated for a moment, and could only fly towards the right. However, after flying for half an hour, he suddenly heard a familiar roar again. This made Wang Xian's expression stiffen. He quickly looked over. What's going on? Or is it that giant galactic beast? Is it still chasing me? No, it shouldn't be chasing me. The position is wrong. Wang Xian's expression changed slightly. Without any hesitation, he continued to flee. This time, he reacted faster than the previous time and escaped further. Daunting but not dangerous. What's going on? Why would I encounter this giant galactic beast again? Wang Xian mumbled to himself and frowned slightly. He was sure that the previous giant galactic beast that was chasing him was the same one. However, he was being chased the moment he entered this place. This was a little strange. There's a possibility. Wang Xian's expression turned solemn. That was the giant galactic beast at the Dominator level had its own territory. This was not impossible. In fact, the possibility was very high. The Dominator level was already a top-notch existence. They had their own territory and territories. Anyone who trespassed would be seen as an invasion. They would be attacked. My position shouldn't be the center of the giant galactic beast's territory. If that's the case, it won't be so easy to obtain large amounts of resources. He mumbled to himself. However, all of this was just his conjecture. He still had to test it out himself. If that was the case, he could either change his direction and avoid the giant galactic beast's territory, or destroy it. Currently, it was impossible for him to destroy the giant galactic beast. Chapter 37-31. I'll give it a try. If that's the case, I'll be in big trouble. Wang Xian murmured to himself. He moved and prepared to bypass this region, and continue flying forward. After flying for more than 10 days, Wang Xian felt that he should have left the territory of the giant galactic beast. He began to search the surroundings. There's a habitable planet ahead. 3 days later, he found a habitable planet. He scanned the surroundings and a dark ghost doppelganger appeared around him. He flew towards the habitable planet ahead. At the same time, he controlled the other dark ghost doppelganger to fly backward, just in case. This planet is also rich in resources. The dark ghost doppelganger scanned the planet, and Wang Xian's eyes lit up. The doppelganger immediately entered and began to search for resources. Rumble, rumble, rumble. But soon, in less than 10 seconds, he sensed a terrifying aura rushing towards him. This made Wang Xian's hair stand on end. He swept his gaze over and fled into the distance without any hesitation. Time to flee. I'll be finished if I don't flee. At the same time, Wang Xian's face darkened. His guess had been confirmed. Giant galactic beasts of the Dominator level would occupy a territory. These habitable planets were their assets. Once there was an intruder, they would attack. Moreover, the speed of these giant galactic beasts was terrifying. Perhaps some giant galactic beasts had abilities similar to Kuan. Coupled with their familiarity with their territory, they could rush over in an instant. I'll continue to observe. If it's still the same, I'll fly back. Wang Xian made up his mind. A month later, he encountered another giant galactic beast and completely gave up on the idea of venturing deeper. It was too dangerous. If he encountered 2 or 3 giant galactic beasts of the Dominator level, he would be finished. Go back. Without any hesitation, he flew towards the back. The back should be where the passage opened. There were no giant galactic beasts of the Dominator level nearby. As he flew back, he encountered some habitable planets along the way. However, some of the planets no longer had any treasures. Clearly, someone had plucked the treasures from these habitable planets. In fact, Wang Xian even met some experts and disciples from the Nine-Source universe along the way. He did not converse with them and continued flying. A year later, he stood in the void, looking ahead helplessly. The end of the universe. There was an end to the universe. And at the end of the universe was chaos. His side was still full of vitality, but the position in front of him was a piece of chaos, as if the world had not been created yet. There was no energy, no vitality. The end of the universe. Wang Xian had yet to see the end of the nine-source universe, but he did see the end of the starry sky universe. The space here is a bit weaker. The passageway between the starry sky universe and the nine essences universe is at the edge of the starry sky universe. As Wang Xian spoke, he frowned slightly. Once they got close to the center, it was the domain of the giant star beasts. Only a rank 4 nine essences universe ruler would be able to deal with a single ruler here. The suppression was too great. During the cataclysm, the passageway will open, and the pressure will vanish. That will be the perfect opportunity. Right now, the nine essences universe is too dangerous to enter the starry sky. Even though he said that, the starry sky universe was still a treasure trove for the disciples of the nine essences universe. If I want to break through now, it might be very difficult. He frowned slightly. If he wanted to break through, he would need at least the resources of tens of thousands of habitable planets. He had thought that it would be easy, but it turned out that it was not. I'd better go to the huge storm mainland. Wang Xian thought to himself. Although he could not increase his strength at the moment, he could find the resources for the Tai Chi Dragon Board and the 5 Elements Grindstone. He took out the communication compass and sent a message to Enlai. Wang, Dragon King. Soon, Enlai appeared beside Wang Xian and bowed to him. Bring me to a place where I've set up the Devil's Soul altar. How are the other disciples of the Dragon Palace? Wang Xian asked. Dragon King, the rest of the brothers of the Dragon Palace are doing well, and there are not many casualties. However, they have discovered that the depths of the starry sky universe are still dangerous. Enlai answered. Wang Xian nodded. Tell them that there will be a ruler-level giant star beast near the center. It has its own territory. Once they enter, they will be attacked. Tell them to be careful. Yes, Dragon King. Enlai nodded. In the next moment, the surrounding scene changed, and they came to the area where the meteorites were rampant. Is there any news on Dragon Queen launching US side? Wang Xian continued to ask Enlai. Currently, only Enlai could easily travel between the Dragon Palace and this area. Therefore, everything was relayed by him. Not yet. Dragon Queen said that Xiao Lan and Xiao Zhai followed a group of giant star beasts to the center of the starry sky universe. They are now fighting for territory. Enlai answered. Wang Xian nodded slightly. The giant star beasts that lived in the nine-source universe in the past had developed intelligence due to the characteristics of the nine-source universe. Compared to the giant star beasts in the starry sky universe, they had more intelligence. However, having more intelligence did not mean that they were invincible in the starry sky universe. I have to increase my strength to the level where I can kill a first-order sovereign star beast as soon as possible. Otherwise, it will be difficult to obtain large amounts of resources in the starry sky universe. Wang Xian thought to himself. This required him to increase his strength 2 more times. Of course, he would be able to break through to the sovereign realm after that. At that time, he would not only be able to kill first-order sovereigns. He would also be able to kill second-order sovereigns. After all, he did not have a peak. He could directly leap from 9th order to first-order sovereign. This is going to be difficult. The 5 elements grind and Tai Chi Dragon Plate can increase their strength by 2 levels here. He moved and flew toward the front of the storm continent. The 5 elements grind could at least increase its strength by 1.5 levels. In fact, the 5 elements grindstone might even possess the strength of a 4th-order sovereign realm expert. At that time, it would be able to fight against the sovereign realm giant star beast. Let's do it. I'll stay here for tens of thousands of years first. Wang Xian thought to himself. Along the way, he would hunt for experts from the Phoenix and Angel races and slowly develop his strength. Anyway, he was not in a hurry. He would only go out after the Tai Chi Dragon Plate and 5 elements grind broke through 2 levels. Having made up his mind, he scanned his surroundings and continued to collect the metallic meteorites. Chapter 37-32. Boom boom boom. 100 years passed in the blink of an eye. Within the meteorite in front of the storm mainland, A huge millstone glowed, and waves of energy surged from it. Beside it, there was an 800-meter-long piece of ice metal. Breakthrough. After more than 100 years, the 5 elements grind has finally broken through. A smile appeared on Wang Xian's face when he saw this. Ice metal was very difficult to absorb. The 5 elements grind had taken more than 100 years to complete its breakthrough. After the breakthrough, the 5 elements grind had the strength to crush third-order sovereigns in the 9 Origins universe. However, it still wasn't a match for a sovereign star beast here. The remaining ice metal and the metals obtained in the past 100 years should be able to improve significantly after the 5 elements grind absorbs them. The Tai Chi dragon plate should be able to improve significantly too. Wang Xian muttered to himself, his eyes shining brightly. There was still a lot of ice metal left, and the 5 elements grind could still improve significantly. As for the Tai Chi dragon plate, it might still take some time before it could improve again. Of course, if he was lucky, he could obtain some dark and light metal, and he could improve even faster. Currently, the seawater in the storm had disappeared over the storm mainland, replaced by pieces of meteorite. The 5 elements grindstone is much stronger than me now. Wang Xian waved his arm, and the 5 elements grind flew in front of him. The current 5 elements grindstone could already kill third-order sovereigns. I'm going to find trouble with the angels and phoenix race. Wang Xian's eyes flickered as he looked ahead, and he flew out immediately. 100 years had passed, and he was prepared to go out and scam the experts of the angels and phoenix race. Once in 100 years, to get some resources. He smiled as he took out the communication stone plate he had obtained from the group of demonic beasts, and looked at the current situation. However, when he opened it, he discovered that the messages on the communication stone plate were more explosive than before. Obviously, more experts and disciples from the 9 Origins universe had entered. However, among the more explosive topics, there was indeed a large number of deaths of experts and disciples from the 9 Origins universe. The reason for all this was that they had been killed by star beasts while searching for planets with life in the depths of the starry universe. Wang Xian's eyes lit up as he read the message. Apart from that, there was also a lot of news about powerful disciples encountering terrifying space beasts. As more and more news spread, the fact that sovereign-level star behemoths had their own domains was revealed. Moreover, some powerful disciples even named some sovereign-level star behemoths, and recorded their strength and the scope of their domains. Furthermore, the powerful disciples of the 9 Essences universe were discussing how, when weaker cultivators entered the domain of the astral behemoths, the astral behemoths wouldn't attack. On the contrary, the stronger ones would definitely be ambushed the moment they stepped in. Of course, if the weak entered the star behemoth's territory and went to those planets to search for treasures, they would also be attacked. All in all, there was a huge amount of information, and most of it was useful to Wang Xian. Of course, apart from this, there was also a lot of information about certain experts obtaining treasures and breaking through. There were even rumors of experts from the Invincible domain breaking through to the Sovereign Realm. The Starry Sky universe was indeed a place with many opportunities. That was why even though the Starry Sky universe was a dangerous place, there were still many disciples from the 9 Essences universe rushing over. If he came across some fortuitous encounter, he would have profited greatly. This was especially true for those powerful disciples who had not broken through for a long time. Wang Xian's eyes lit up as he read through the information. He continued to fly outside. After flying for 10 days, he hovered in the void. With a wave of his arm, the 5 elements grindstone flew into the sky. Waves of earthen yellow energy rippled and stirred the surrounding void. The earthen yellow energy condensed into a huge ball of earth, just like a star. Wang Xian took out the communication stone plate and sent a message to the Angel clan. Found the treasure and encountered 4 star behemoths. After sending the message, he moved and 2 huge silhouettes of the star behemoths appeared beside him. These 2 star behemoths were the ones he had encountered more than 100 years ago. He had easily suppressed them in the mother nest. Now he could release them as bait. Subsequently, Wang Xian hid in the surrounding void, waiting for the fish to take the bait. Before long, the Angel clan sent him a message, asking him to activate the positioning ability of the communication stone plate. After activating it, he waited quietly. 5 days passed by quickly. In his sight, 3 angels were flying over. The 3 angels flew over and scanned the surroundings. The strength of these 3 angels is at the first order sovereign realm. Wang Xian hid in the void and frowned slightly when he saw the 3 angels. They were too weak. Let's hope they have more angels in their army. He was looking forward to it. Those 2 star behemoths? Come, let's go over. The 3 angels noticed the 2 star behemoths quickly and flew over. Not bad. Although the strength of these 2 star behemoths is average, they are star behemoths after all. We have subdued them. One of the angels looked over and laughed out loud. Where's the disciple who reported the news to us? Isn't he around? The other angel looked at him in confusion. He might have escaped, or he might have been killed. An expert from the angel clan said plainly as he scanned the surroundings. Let's suppress these star behemoths first, and see what treasures are on that special earth and yellow planet. One of the angels flapped his 12 wings and increased his speed. However, just as they got closer, a terrifying energy suddenly pressed down on them. This caused the 3 angels' faces to change drastically, and their eyes were filled with fear. Not good. There might be even more terrifying star behemoths here. An angel's face changed drastically as he roared, "Escape from here!" Boom. As soon as he finished his sentence, he saw pieces of terrifying meteorites flying towards them. Sensing the attack power of these meteorites, their faces changed drastically. This star behemoth is strong, block it. Battle Angel Army. An angel shouted. With a wave of his arm, an angel army appeared behind him. The other 2 angels' hearts tightened. Without any hesitation, they released their angel army. There are only 6 first-order sovereign realm battle angels. Including the 3 of them, there are 9 of them, and an angel army. This should be enough. Wang Xian mumbled to himself when he saw this. Chapter 37-33. Boom! When the 3 angels released their angel core, an aura that left them in despair swept over. A terrifyingly large millstone appeared above them at a frightening speed. The space they were in was instantly shrouded by it. What is this? The 3 first-order sovereigns raised their heads and looked at the millstone with despair written all over their faces. Boom! A grayish energy swept over, and the 3 angels lost their lives instantly. The current 5 elements grindstone could even kill a 3rd-order sovereign realm expert, much less a 1st-order sovereign realm angel. They didn't even know what kind of enemy they had encountered before they died. After killing them, Wang Xian appeared at the side, and kept their corpses with a wave of his hand. He checked the treasures in their hands and smiled. Not bad. The 3 angels had been in the universe for a few hundred years. The resources they had collected were no less than what he had obtained previously. Next, the Phoenix race. Wang Xian smiled and kept the 2 giant space beasts before flying into the distance. After flying for more than 10 days, he stopped, took out the communication stone plate, and repeated what he had done. This time, Wang Xian's luck was pretty good. 2 second-order universe sovereigns phoenixes flew over, and were easily killed by Wang Xian. These 2 second-order sovereign phoenixes could increase the number of venerable realm disciples in the Dragon Palace by 200. Killing and arson is the best way to get resources. It's a pity that I can't keep doing this. He murmured and contacted and lied to send the phoenix and angel corpses to the Dragon Palace. The angels and phoenixes that he had killed previously, together with this one, could bring the Dragon Palace 600 to 700 venerable realm disciples. This would increase the number of venerable realm experts in the Dragon Palace. It wouldn't be long before the Dragon Palace would have a sovereign realm expert. After all, with more venerable realm experts, there were bound to be disciples who could break through. Let's go back. After killing the 2 second-order sovereigns of the Phoenix race, Wang Xian prepared to return to the Storm mainland. He would only be able to step into the sovereign realm after the 5 elements great grind broke through again. The top clans have made a move? Wang Xian flew towards the Storm mainland. As he flew, he took out the communication stone plate to check for information. When he saw a message, his eyes narrowed slightly. An expert disciple discovered that the experts of the peak races were surrounding and attacking a ruler-rank space beast. Every Dominator rank space beast occupies a huge life planet. Once they kill a Dominator rank space beast, they will be able to obtain a huge harvest. The apex races still have a huge advantage. Wang Xian sighed in his heart. He increased his speed and wanted to upgrade the 5 elements grindstone as soon as possible. When they arrived in front of the storm continent, they suddenly saw a large number of robots and spaceships floating in front of them. When Wang Xian saw it, he was taken aback and squinted his eyes. He hurriedly hid himself and looked ahead. Beep beep beep. However, just as he was about to hide, a voice rang out. Not far away from him, there was an incomparably tiny detector. We've been discovered. Wang Xian looked over, and his eyes shone brightly. Since he had been discovered, there was nothing for him to hide. Moving his body, Wang Xian sized up the large number of spaceships and robots in front of him before flying over. These robots and spaceships were obviously subordinates of the technological world, and there would definitely be experts from the technological world in front of him. Wang Xian had no qualms about the technological world. Their strongest destructive power could not even threaten a third-order universe lord. Ka. Swish swish swish. Warning, this place has been occupied by the technological world. Get out of our territory immediately. Several small spaceships flew over and surrounded Wang Xian completely. A mechanical voice warned him. Wang Xian swept his gaze across and waved his arm. A wave of energy landed on these spaceships. Bam bam bam. In an instant, all the surrounding spaceships collapsed. He looked ahead and swept a cold gaze across the group of machines. I've discovered this place for hundreds of years. Do you think this is your territory? This is? Analyzing the opponent's strength. Universe Lord? No, that's not right. The energy in him is terrifying. Analyzing his bloodline, the probability of him being from the divine dragon race is 80%. The opponent is too strong. He's not a match for him. He's not a match for him. In the center of the front, a mecha analyzed Wang Xian's information with a tinge of shock in its eyes. Searching data analysis. There's an 83% chance that the opponent is the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace. Another piece of information was transmitted into the mecha's mind, causing its eyes to flicker. The cultivation system of the technological world was the most unique. They were constantly climbing up the technological tree. However, they were stuck at the boundary of the sovereigns. To the scientists of the technological world, they weren't stuck because of the limits of technology, but because they didn't have enough metal materials and special energy. Through their secret research, they had a trump card to go against the sovereigns. Of course, it could only go against a first-level sovereign directly. Moreover, this trump card required the help of inborn cardinal treasures. This also made them realize that to break through the shackles of their current technology, they would need enough powerful metal materials and special energy. This was a treasure trove that the technological world had accidentally discovered. To them, this was crucial. However, the Dragon King before them was clearly not someone they could offend. Greetings to the expert, Lin Wenluo from the technological world. I believe you're the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace? We were wrong to offend you, Dragon King. Lin Wenluo, the scientist in the mecha, flew over and bowed to Wang Xian. The mecha he was wearing looked metallic, but had the flexibility of a living creature. I've occupied this place. Leave now. Wang Xian stared at the mecha and said coldly. His words made Lin Wenluo, who was in the mecha, change his expression. Dragon King, the metal here is very important to the technological world. Can you let us occupy some space? We'll take the metal that you don't need. In fact, we can even intercept the metal. Dragon King, you can have the first pick and leave the leftovers to us. Hee, I can occupy this place alone. Why should I share it with you? Wang Xian looked at Lin Wenluo and said with a faint smile. We can help you conceal this place. It's only a matter of time before other experts discover this place. If we conceal it, the chances of them discovering it will be much lower, Lin Wenluo said in a deep voice. Chapter 37-34. Oh! Wang Xian's eyes sparkled as he looked at the scientists of this technological world. Metal, wood, water, fire, earth, light and darkness. I'll take these 7 elemental metals. You can have the other 2. Wang Xian said plainly. Since the scientists of this technological world had discovered this place, it meant that this place had already been exposed. He had also passed on the information about this place. Once he chased them out, he might spread the news. Once the news was spread, this place would definitely be occupied by the experts of the pinnacle races. After all, the metals here were precious treasures to any race in the 9-source universe. All right. When Lin Wenluo heard this, he immediately nodded and smiled. He was already very satisfied that he could occupy 2 out of the 9 elemental metals. In addition, because of the storm in the storm mainland, the number of wind elemental metals was slightly more than the other elements. He was already very satisfied that he could occupy some from the Dragon King. How are you going to solve the problem of concealment here? Wang Xian looked at him and asked plainly. Dragon King, it's not easy to conceal this place. I can only build some models of the giant beasts of the storm mainland to intimidate them. It should be able to last for a while. Lin Wenluo said. As the giant beasts of the storm mainland are metal, it's difficult to sense their aura. Therefore, the simulation won't be discovered. As long as we build a nest of the giant beasts of the storm mainland, the other pinnacle races won't dare to intrude. In addition, I will build some models of the giant beasts of the storm mainland and use them to devour and intercept these metals. In this way, it will also create an illusion that these metal meteorites are all occupied by the giant beasts of the storm mainland. He revealed his plan, which made Wang Xian raise his eyebrows slightly. That's a good idea. As he spoke, there were many giant beasts of the storm mainland. Based on the horror of those giant beasts of the storm mainland, even the pinnacle races wouldn't dare to approach them. By simulating the same giant beasts of the storm mainland, the chances of being discovered were slim. After all, the giant beasts of the starry sky belong to this universe. There was no way to detect their strength. What rank are you in the technological world? Wang Xian looked at Lin Wenluo and asked. Dragon King, I'm one of the 9 great scientists of the technological world. Lin Wenluo replied respectfully. The current Dragon Palace was between a high-level race and a pinnacle race, and its technology was much worse. Your technological world has a unique advantage in exploring this universe, right? Wang Xian looked at him and continued asking with flickering eyes. There is indeed a great advantage. As Lin Wenluo spoke, his mecha unfurled to reveal himself. The figure wore thick armor, making it look a little bloated. But now, our technological world is basically about to disband. He spoke with a bitter expression on his face. Oh. When Wang Xian saw this, he raised his eyebrows slightly. Right now, the other 8 top scientists of our technological world have already been recruited by the peak races. It can be said that the technological world no longer exists. Lin Wenluo said bitterly, a trace of confusion in his eyes. The development of our scientific and technological world has always been greatly limited, that is resources and most importantly metals. Without top-level metals, our technology has been trapped here for billions of years. The appearance of the starry sky universe made the top races promise to recruit the other 8 scientists. Then why didn't you join a peak race? Wang Xian looked at him. That's because the technological world was established by my grandfather. Lin Wenluo said slowly. Wang Xian chuckled and did not continue asking. With a flick of his palm, some metal meteorites appeared in his hand. I have some metals with wind and thunder attributes. If you have any treasures that satisfy me, we can trade. These metals with wind and thunder attributes were obtained over the past few hundred years. To him they were useless. There were a dozen pieces, which was definitely a lot for Lin Wenluo. Lin Wenluo saw it, and his eyes were burning with passion. Following which he pondered deeply. Dragon King, you might not be interested in the things I have here. I only have this. As he spoke, he took out an item. It was a special piece of leather with spots of light on it. What's this? Wang Xian looked at this special item with curiosity. This is the latest item I've researched, but it's a failure. As Lin Wenluo spoke, he waved his arm, and the leather floated in the air. It could expand and shrink at will, and looked very mystical. Although it's a failure, it's the best result of my research so far. It's made from a very strange and unique animal skin that should be left behind from the previous cataclysm. Its main function is to mimic, a perfect mimic. My original plan was to mimic the appearance of a giant beast of the starry sky and travel through the universe. He continued. Why do you call it a failure? Wang Xian looked at him. Because it can't mimic the energy of a giant beast of the starry sky. For example, if I put on this animal skin, I can transform into the appearance of the giant beast of the starry sky in front of me. I can replicate it to 100%. However, the attributes of the giant beast of the starry sky are very unique, and I will be discovered by it. As Lin Wenluo spoke, the robots flew to the side of the animal skin. Soon the animal skin landed on the robots and began to transform. Gradually, a real giant beast of the starry sky appeared in their sight. Looking at this giant beast of the starry sky, Wang Xian was shocked. He actually couldn't sense it. This was just a robot wearing an animal skin. One had to know that he was only a dozen meters away from it. Yet he couldn't sense it at such a close distance. This transformation ability was a little terrifying. Also, if I may offend you, Dragon King, he can also transform into the appearance of a divine dragon. As Lin Wenluo spoke, a lifelike Inferno Divine Dragon appeared in front of him. Other than the fact that the Inferno Divine Dragon didn't emit any aura, even Wang Xian couldn't tell the difference. This research of yours is really impressive. What about during a battle? Asked Wang Xian as he looked over. During a battle, you'll be able to sense it. Moreover, some giant beasts of the starry sky and some experts have unique racial talents. Therefore, it's a huge flaw. But I can guarantee that if you cover yourself with this, you won't have much of a problem flying around the storm mainland. I've tested it before and it has another effect, which is to conceal your aura. Lin Wenluo smiled and said, this research of yours is really unique, but it's not worth much. I'm willing to trade with 3 pieces of metal, said Wang Xian with a smile. For the convenience of reading next time, you can click on the collection button below to record this transaction. Chapter 37-35. Alright. Lin Wenluo agreed to the deal. Although this item was made from precious and special animal skin, it was not of much use to him. Especially since it was a failed product to him. Dragon King, apart from this treasure, are you interested in some technological items? For example, some surveillance aircraft? Lin Wenluo continued asking. I can take a look. Wang Xian nodded. Lin Wenluo immediately took out some treasures used for surveillance, and began explaining them to him. Some items in the technological world were still very useful. For example, their surveillance particle robot. It was a very small robot that could fly very far, and was very useful for surveillance. This was not something that experts like Wang Xian could do. Such surveillance had a huge advantage, which was to predict danger in advance. In addition, when there were a lot of them, they could also be used for surveillance and search. Such a tiny surveillance robot had a speed comparable to a 7th or 8th level supremacy. It was the most advanced technology in the technological world. Wang Xian traded some with it. After the trade, Wang Xian operated it and revealed a satisfied look. Lin Wenluo was also very satisfied. While they were trading, Lin Wenluo had already camouflaged the surroundings. The models of giant space beasts were lying around. Some of them even moved a little. This was indeed a great deterrent. It was especially so at the storm mainland. From time to time, terrifying giant space beasts would fly into the storm and devour pieces of metal. With that group of terrifying existences, few experts dared to step foot here. They would also not suspect these fake giant space beasts. Lin Wenluo, who was in the technological world, used robots to imitate giant space beasts to intercept the meteorites. Wang Xian did not need to do anything. He sat cross-legged and helped the 5 elements grindstone and Tai Chi dragon plate to speed up their absorption. Lin Wenluo was in a simulated giant space beast not far away, researching something. Time passed day by day. Hundreds of years were just a blink of an eye. In between, Wang Xian had used the same method twice to hunt down the experts from the Angel and Phoenix race. However, the first time he hunted down a sovereign. The second time, he hunted down a pinnacle supremacy. In the past 200 years, The peak races have gradually penetrated deeper and deeper. Some of the sovereign rank space beasts have also been killed by them. This has also caused the number of sovereign rank experts in the vicinity to decrease. Wang Xian's eyes sparkled as he read the message on the communication stone plate. This is. Suddenly, Wang Xian's eyes fell on a piece of news and he was shocked. Fireheart Treasured Land. He immediately clicked on it, and his eyes were filled with surprise. This Fireheart Treasure Land is simply a holy land for fire element cultivators. A fire phoenix broke through to the sovereign realm here. This heavenly fire ancestor obtained a powerful treasure in the Fireheart Treasure Land. He actually broke through. This is unbelievable. Heavenly fire ancestor has advanced to the sovereign realm. The patriarch of the heavenly fire cult has broken through? Hiss. This is too shocking. Doesn't that mean that the heavenly fire cult can be promoted to a peak race, even if it's the weakest? This is the first time someone from a high-ranking race has broken through. Back in the Nine Essences universe, this would be unimaginable. An expert has actually broken through. This is too terrifying. There were countless comments below this piece of news. An expert from a high-ranking race had actually broken through. What kind of great opportunity did he obtain? Secondly, in the past, since the end of the cultivation calamity, over 20 billion years in the Nine Essences universe, no expert from a high-ranking race had broken through to the sovereign realm, except for the current peak races. However, in less than 1,000 years in the Starry Sky universe, an expert had actually broken through. This was definitely something that would shock everyone. At the same time, the experts and disciples of the high-ranking races were even more excited. Although the Starry Sky universe was more dangerous, there were tens of thousands of times more opportunities than in the Nine Essences universe. If one was lucky here, he could really soar to the sky. Heavenly Fire Ancestor was an example. In addition to the news about Heavenly Fire Ancestor, a large number of experts and disciples also announced that many fire element experts had broken through crazily in the Fireheart Treasure Land. Wang Xian was also shocked when he saw this piece of news. An expert has broken through so quickly, Wang Xian murmured, and his eyes were shining. He checked the location of the Fireheart Treasure Land, and his face revealed a hesitant look. Buzz, buzz. At this moment, waves of dark and light energy came from the side. Wang Xian looked over, and a smile appeared on his face. The Tai Chi Dragon Plate had broken through. Now both the 5 Elements Grindstone and the Tai Chi Dragon Plate had the power of a third-order sovereign. With these two treasures, Wang Xian would be able to escape from the attack of a giant space beast at the Dominator level. If the 5 Elements Grindstone wants to break through, it will probably take a few thousand years at this rate of harvest. Wang Xian murmured as he looked at the 5 Elements Grindstone. He took out the universe artificial intelligence and contacted Wuxia and the others. Wuxia and the others had already entered the Starry Sky universe, and each of them had some harvest. After asking around, he called Wuxia, who was currently researching something, over. His figure flashed as he flew outside and laid down a demon spirit altar. Dragon King. Soon, Enlai brought Wuxia over, and she greeted him respectfully. Follow me. Wang Xian nodded his head at her, and led her forward. Lin Wenluo. When he arrived at the previous position, he shouted in Lin Wenluo's direction. Ha! Dragon King. What can I do for you? Soon Lin Wenluo walked out and asked respectfully. I'll leave this place, and Wuxia will guard this place for me. If you have any problems, tell Wuxia. Wang Xian said to Lin Wenluo. One of the 9 great scientists of the technological world, Luo? Wuxia looked at Lin Wenluo and gave him a slap in the face. Ha! A sovereign expert? A sovereign expert? Dragon King, your dragon palace has a sovereign expert? Lin Wenluo looked at Wuxia and assessed her strength. Soon he was shocked and exclaimed. Hee, if there's anything, just tell Wuxia. Wuxia, you should pay attention here too. Wang Xian said to them. Yes, Dragon King. Wuxia nodded. Okay. Wang Xian responded. With a swift move he flew out. He was going to the Fireheart Treasure Land. I didn't expect the Dragon Palace to have a sovereign expert. Lin Wenluo watched Wang Xian leave and looked at Wuxia with a sigh. Hee, there are many things you didn't expect. The technological world is interesting. Although it is different from the sorcerer lineage, it is still pursuing the truth. Wuxia looked at him and said plainly. Chapter 37-36, Swoosh Swoosh Swoosh. Wang Xian flew quickly in the starry universe, heading for the Fireheart treasure ground. There were many cultivation treasures in the universe, especially some of them. Cultivating in them was like sitting on a rocket. A universe would always give birth to extremely powerful treasures. The nine-source universe was already occupied by the pinnacle races. Why did the pinnacle races have so many sovereigns? One of the reasons was because of these treasures. Those were the truly terrifying grotto heavens and blessedness. It was a pity that such grotto heavens and blessedness were not accessible to other experts. Moreover, the energy in such grotto heavens and blessedness was limited. For example, a fixed amount of energy could only be accumulated for a certain period of time. As the number of disciples from the pinnacle races increased, their grotto heavens and blessedness were not enough for them to use. This Fireheart treasure ground was obviously comparable to the grotto heavens and blessedness occupied by the pinnacle races. Perhaps it was because some giant space beasts were not of the fire attribute, and the number of giant space beasts was much lower than the number of living beings in the nine-source universe. It's a little far. I didn't expect the experts and disciples of the nine-source universe to have explored so deeply in less than 1,000 years. Wang Xian murmured as he looked at the distance. The deeper he went, the more gaps there were. Although there were giant space beasts at the sovereign level occupying a territory, the experts of the various races of the Nine Essences universe could still use all sorts of methods to find their own paths. Wang Xian flew quickly according to the route on the communication stone plate. We're almost there. Time passed. 10 years later, Wang Xian suddenly realized that the number of experts and disciples around him had increased. There were even many experts and disciples from the pinnacle races. The thing made by Lin Wenluo can be used. Wang Xian's eyes flickered slightly. For the time being, he did not want others to know his identity. This was also to prevent experts from the angel race and phoenix race from hunting him down. He waved his arm and put on the shape-shifting animal skin. His aura was completely concealed. Flames bloomed on Wang Xian's body. At this moment, he was completely a flame cultivator. Because of the uniqueness of this animal skin, even if he fought, no one would discover that he was the Dragon King of Dragon Palace. With this thought in mind, Wang Xian slowed down and flew forward. As he got closer, Wang Xian realized that there were more and more experts and disciples around him. After flying for another day, he saw at least 1 million experts and disciples gathered in front of him. In front of the group of powerful disciples was an incomparably huge and strange domain. In front of them, there were many suns, which could also be called fiery planets. In the center of more than 100 fiery planets, there was a humongous meteorite the size of a basin. The sky above the meteorite was emitting strands of red light. Looking from the sky, one could see that the center of this meteorite was a pure red flame liquid. The flames turned into liquid and seemed to contain a terrifying amount of energy. On the surrounding fiery planets, one could see many experts and disciples cultivating on them. Wang Xian continued to fly forward with glistening eyes. Patriarch Skyfire made his breakthrough here? The power of fire here is so rich. This is simply a paradise for fire attribute cultivators. Unfortunately, I'm not a fire attribute cultivator. Look over there, over 1,000 fire phoenixes have occupied a fiery star. So many phoenixes are coming. Voices of discussion could be heard from the surroundings. Wang Xian looked over. There were indeed many fire attribute experts around. After all, a patriarch of an advanced race had made a breakthrough. Why didn't any experts go to the fiery liquid in the center? That should be the place with the most energy, right? Wang Xian looked at the few people who were talking and couldn't help but ask. Go to the center? Who would dare to go there? There are 70 to 80 giant space beasts there? Upon hearing Wang Xian, one of the experts replied, Are you new here? The center, known as the center of the Fireheart treasure land, is guarded by more than 100 fiery planets. However, it has been occupied by powerful giant space beasts. Not long ago, an expert from the Phoenix clan tried to enter, and was swallowed by a giant space beast. You didn't see it. The other experts from the Phoenix clan didn't dare to rescue him. They were afraid of angering the other giant space beasts. As the expert spoke, he turned his gaze towards the center of the crowd. Huh? Really? Wang Xian raised his eyebrows. Where did that Patriarch Skyfire make his breakthrough? Patriarch Skyfire obtained a supreme treasure from a fiery planet and made a breakthrough, said the cultivator, his eyes filled with envy and yearning. Ancestor Skyfire was able to make a breakthrough on a fiery star. If he were to enter the center of the Fire Heart Treasure Land, wouldn't the speed of his improvement be even more terrifying? Enter the center of the Fire Heart Treasure Land? Don't even think about it. Those 70 to 80 giant space beasts are existences above the Dominator level. This is the starry universe. Even if an elite race were to come, they would still die. His companion beside him said. Wang Xian nodded his head slightly. After hesitating for a moment, he flew forward. As he approached the fiery planets, Wang Xian instantly sensed a majestic energy coming towards him. The energy was even denser than the Dragon Palace. One should know that the energy in the Dragon Palace was extremely terrifying. This is just getting closer. If I were to be in the center of the Fireheart Treasure Land, wouldn't my cultivation speed increase by tens of thousands of times? Wang Xian mumbled to himself. As he flew to a fiery planet, Wang Xian instantly sensed a wave of heat and energy rushing towards him, cleansing his body. On the fiery planet, he could see many experts occupying a place and starting to cultivate. Fire attribute cultivators can cultivate 100 times faster on this fiery planet than in the Dragon Palace. How terrifying! As he spoke, his eyes looked towards the center of the Fireheart Treasure Land. On a fiery planet closest to the center of the Fireheart Treasure Land, there were several fire phoenixes cultivating on it. The flame energy there should be denser than on Wang Xian's planet. However, the group of phoenixes did not dare to step into the center of the Fireheart Treasure Land. They did not even dare to go to the edge. He hesitated for a moment before approaching it bit by bit. He floated in the void in front of the center and looked down. In the center there was a huge basin. This basin was the size of a dozen planets. There were 70 to 80 giant space beasts in it. These 70 to 80 giant space beasts did not belong to the same race. Instead, they were divided into several types. Without exception, their bodies contained terrifying flame energy. These giant space beasts did not fight among themselves. Obviously, they have reached an agreement. They belong to at least 7 or 8 races of giant space beasts. Wang Xian looked and wondered if there was a way to enter. Chapter 37:37. If Wang Xian were to cultivate on these fiery planets, he might need millions of years to achieve a breakthrough. A few million years was neither a long time nor a short time. It would take millions of years to advance one level, and tens of millions of years to advance further. It didn't take too long. However, Wang Xian felt that if he could enter the center of the Fireheart Treasure Land, his cultivation speed would increase by at least 10 times. If he needed it every few tens of thousands of years, he wouldn't need to look for resources and treasures at all. He could just cultivate here. Because this place was full of resources and treasures. Let Enlai bring me inside? Will they be attacked? Wang Xian was hesitant. If he wanted to enter, it would be very dangerous. Although he wouldn't lose his life, if he wanted to escape, he would have to use a void scroll. This void scroll was a life-saving treasure. He looked down at the giant star beast that was lying on the ground cultivating in the Fireheart Treasure Land, and an idea suddenly came to his mind. Can I? There are a total of 7 or 8 races of giant astral beasts here. They probably don't know each other very well. After all, giant astral beasts are more like beasts. Wang Xian thought of an idea and felt that he could take the risk. That was, he could transform into a star behemoth with the help of the hide treasure that Lin Wenluo had researched. Wang Xian wasn't sure what the success rate was. With the special nature of the beast's skin, he could become the same as other giant beasts of the starry sky. As long as he didn't fight and didn't release his energy, he wouldn't be sensed by other giant beasts of the same race. Lin Wenluo had already tested it on the Storm Continent. As long as he didn't use energy, it wouldn't be a big problem. I'll give it a try, Soon, Wang Xian made his decision. The temptation of the center of the Fireheart treasure land was too great. If he could cultivate inside, he wouldn't need to go out to look for treasures. Cultivating here would be enough. At that time, he would be able to complete his breakthrough after tens of thousands of years of seclusion. This speed was already extremely fast. Having made up his mind, Wang Xian stared at the center of the Fireheart treasure land and the figures of the galactic beasts. Most of the 7 or 8 star behemoths had half of their bodies submerged in the flaming liquid, with only their heads or upper bodies exposed. Wang Xian scanned through them one by one and finally fixed his eyes on a galactic beast. It was a giant star beast with flames all over its body and 4 limbs lying on the ground like a toad. The only difference was that there was a bulge on its head that looked like a gourd. There were many giant beasts of this race. There were more than 20 of them, which occupied the majority of the giant beasts of this race. In addition, there were a few small star behemoths among the group of more than 20. They seemed to be young star behemoths. Obviously, this race had a relatively high status among the star behemoths. They occupied a large area, and occasionally the cubs could be seen turning over and moving around. Why don't I transform into a giant star beast? Wang Xian was sizing it up and calculating the possibility of success. There's a good chance that all the adult star behemoths of that species are sleeping with their eyes closed. Most importantly, if I transform into this star behemoth, the other star behemoths won't dare to provoke me. Wang Xian thought to himself as he looked around. There were many experts staring at the center of the Fireheart treasure land. There was one not far away from him. Wang Xian moved and came to a more remote place where other experts and disciples would not be able to see him. He touched the animal skin on his body. Collecting simulated target form. Collecting in progress. Wang Xian pressed a button on the animal skin. As a product of technology, this animal skin continued some of the usage methods of the technological world. Collecting successful. You can simulate the shape of the giant star beast and some of its actions. Soon, the mechanical voice sounded again. Simulate. Wang Xian moved his mind and started the simulation immediately. In the next moment, Wang Xian could clearly sense that his body size began to grow and he became a cub of the giant star beast. Without any hesitation, he simulated the movement of the cub of the giant star beast and flew towards the center of the Fireheart treasure land. He didn't fly to the area occupied by the giant star beasts. Instead, he flew to a place that was slightly on the edge of the area. There, 3 giant star beasts were lying on the ground cultivating. Why is there a giant star beast there all of a sudden? What's going on? Where did a giant star beast come from? When Wang Xian flew towards the center of the Fireheart treasure land, some experts and disciples who were paying attention to the center were shocked when they saw it. On the planet occupied by the Fire Phoenix, a few Fire Phoenixes also looked over in confusion. However, at this moment, Wang Xian flew quickly towards the fiery liquid in the center of the Fireheart treasure land. At this moment, he was a little scared and was ready to escape at any time. When he flew to the center of the Fireheart treasure land, the 3 giant star beasts cultivating inside immediately looked at him. That incomparably huge pupil. The terrifying aura from them made Wang Xian's heart tighten. However, he did not stop and continued to descend into the fiery liquid below. Bam! As he fell into it, waves of majestic flame energy tempered his body and surged into his body. Wang Xian instantly felt as though he was submerged in a powerful ocean of energy. Even if he did not absorb it, endless energy was also surging into his body. This caused his eyes to be filled with pleasant surprise. Swoosh! However, at this moment, the giant star beast, which was only tens of thousands of kilometers away, suddenly moved, making him a little nervous. But to Wang Xian's surprise, the 3 galactic beasts did not make any other moves. Wang Xian quickly controlled his body and immersed it completely in the fiery liquid. As soon as he did, he sensed the terrifying auras of numerous star behemoths in his surroundings. There aren't just 70 or 80 star behemoths in the center of the Flame Heart Paradise. There are at least 100. Wang Xian could sense the silhouette of the giant star beast below. He looked in the direction of the 3 giant star beasts after his body was submerged in it. The 3 galactic giant beasts did not move. It was unknown if they were wary of the galactic giant beasts that Wang Xian had imitated or something else. In short, he had succeeded. Success. At this moment, Wang Xian's eyes were filled with excitement. Feeling the vast power of flame around him, he was thrilled. At most, I'll be able to break through here after cultivating for 10,000 years. A look of excitement appeared on his face. He immediately lay there motionlessly and quietly cultivated. Even though the surrounding star behemoths had noticed his arrival, none of them attacked him. Remember love in 1 second. Chapter 37-38. It's done. Wang Xian was immersed in the center of the Fire Heart treasure land with excitement in his eyes. In this way, he managed to fool the star behemoths. Although the things that Lin Wenluo researched are of little value, I didn't expect them to have such a huge effect. Wang Xian was a little excited. Once this beast's skin erupts with energy, the giant star beasts of the same race will be able to sense that you are not of the same race. However, things were different in this situation. The colossal star beast that he imitated was far away. The colossal star beasts here were afraid of the colossal star beast that he imitated, so they didn't dare to attack him. This allowed him to cultivate in peace here. Wang Xian revealed a faint smile. With a shift of his mind, he sank to the deepest part of the center of the Fire Heart treasure land and began to cultivate quietly. Ever since Wang Xian got the system, he had been relying on resources to achieve breakthroughs. He rarely cultivated by himself. But today, he felt that he could cultivate properly. The energy here was too thick. It was so strong that he seemed to be swallowing elixirs at all times. The fire elemental energy entered his body and transformed into dragon energy, which strengthened his body and energy. The dragon energy in Wang Xian's body was increasing at a terrifying speed. Due to the birth of a sovereign-level existence, as long as one didn't step into the center of the Fire Heart treasure land, they wouldn't be attacked by the giant space beasts. This attracted more and more experts. The Phoenix clan's Fire Phoenix, the God Tiger clan's Flame Tiger, the Demon clan's Flame Demon, the Skeleton clan's Flame Skeleton, and so on. After the group of powerhouses arrived, they cultivated on the fiery planets. From time to time, they would look at the center of the Fire Heart treasure land, their eyes filled with passion and helplessness. The center of the Fire Core Paradise is comparable to our Phoenix clan's Flame Nirvana. However, our Phoenix clan's Flame Nirvana only has some energy in reserve. If we could enter the center of the Fire Core treasure land to cultivate, we would have a chance to increase our cultivation by 2 or 3 levels. Unfortunately, the energy in the Fire Core treasure land is dozens of times more than the peak of our Flame Nirvana land, right? More or less. Although those star behemoths have always been in the center of the Fire Heart treasure land, they don't absorb much flame energy, because they don't have the flame attribute. Perhaps their absorption ability isn't as good as our venerable grade Fire Phoenix's. Alas, it's a pity that we can't enter. Outside the center of the Fire Heart treasure land, the expert from Fire Phoenix said regretfully. If they could enter, they were confident that they would soar into the sky. Not only them, but the other fire attribute experts were also like this. But they could not get in. The astral beasts inside were too terrifying. No one had expected Wang Xian to have already entered the room to cultivate. Time passed day by day. There was no sun or moon in cultivation, and 10,000 years passed in the blink of an eye. Wang Xian entrenched himself in the center of the Fire Heart treasure land and absorbed the power of flames crazily. The dragon energy in his body was also increasing at a terrifying speed. Buzz. On this day, he felt a surge of energy in his body. He hurriedly restrained the sudden burst of energy. Ding! Congratulations to host for leveling up and breaking through to the 9th Order Universe Venerable Realm. Ding! Congratulations to the host for breaking through and comprehending the Dharma form. Berserk Dragon Star Explosion. Name, Wang Xian Race. 9 Origins Divine Dragon, 1 with the Dragon level. Universe Venerable Level 9, Divine Dragon Transformation 9th Transformation. Origin. 1%, 99% required for next breakthrough. Magic. Dominate the aquatic creatures. Dominate any aquatic creatures lower than your own level. Devour living things to extract the source. Control of the 5 elements cultivation technique. Divine dragon transformation magic. Soul assimilation, spiritual attachment magic. Dragon. I lock 5 elements dragon claw. Yin Yang world breaker. 8 luminaries dragon scale. Saint dragon shadow. Heavenly dragon 8 divisions. Dragon tomb. Soaring cloud dragon. True dragon body dharma form. 8 directions dragon pillar. 8 dragons doppelgangers. Towering dragon horns. Mighty heavenly dragon. Godly tail playing with pearls. Dragon breath of life. Shadow dragon doppelganger. Netherworld dragon pursuit. Netherworld dragon transformation. Thunderstorm dragon life. Berserk. Dragon star explosion. Control of the laws. Metal, wood, water, fire, earth, light, darkness, wind, thunder god nation. Dragon palace possess dragon palace. Inborn dragon palace members. 806-0450. Suppressing the explosion of energy. The system's voice sounded in Wang Xian's mind. He tried his best to suppress it. Fortunately, the energy did not spread out and attract the attention of the surrounding giant space beasts. Wang Xian opened his eyes and revealed a smile. It was several times faster than he had expected. He initially thought he would need tens of thousands of years to break through. Little did he expect that he could do it in just 10,000 years. After breaking through, Wang Xian's strength would be sufficient to contend with first-order sovereign space beasts. In other words, Wang Xian would be able to fight against fourth-order sovereigns. In fact, he would be much stronger than them. Coupled with the 5 elements grind, he would be able to kill them easily. At present, Wang Xian's strength was already at the pinnacle of the 9 Origins universe experts who had entered the Starry Sky universe. After all, there were no peak sovereigns among the experts who had entered the Starry Sky cosmos. Continue to improve, at least one more realm, and truly step into the sovereign realm. Once I step past the peak of Venerable Realm and reach the sovereign realm. Once I reach the sovereign realm, I will have strength comparable to a 6th-order sovereign. Wang Xian's eyes lit up with excitement. Moreover, he had discovered that there were no shackles for him to advance from the 9th-order Venerable Realm to the 1st-order Sovereign Realm. In other words, as long as he had sufficient resources, he would be able to break through directly. After breaking through, his strength would be comparable to a 6th-order Sovereign. Combat strength at this level was already extremely terrifying. Continue to cultivate and strive to break through again. Wang Xian muttered to himself. A smile appeared on his face as he looked around and continued to cultivate. Time passed day by day, and tens of thousands of years passed. The Starry Sky cosmos was bustling with noise and excitement due to the entry of experts from the 9 Origins universe. More and more experts entered the Starry Sky cosmos. However, 10,000 years later, a sudden piece of news shook all the experts of the peak races in the 9 Origins universe. Not long after the 9 Origins universe opened, all the peak races had sent their peak sovereigns to enter the Starry Sky cosmos. Now all of them had fallen. This news reached all the experts and disciples in the Starry Sky cosmos. This was because the angel powerhouse, the eldest son of the Radiant Angel King, was chased to the entrance by a terrifying star behemoth. That terrifying aura caused all the experts and disciples who had just entered the Starry Sky cosmos to die in an instant. They were crushed to death by the terrifying energy of the space beast. This matter instantly caused an uproar in the 9 Origins universe. Within the communication stone plate, this news also spread like wildfire. All the experts and disciples were discussing it. Later on, experts from the various peak races revealed that the 12 8th-order sovereigns sent by the 12 peak races were all killed. Chapter 37-39. The news of the 12 8th-order sovereigns being killed by the giant space beasts caused a huge uproar. The expressions of the experts from the various peak powers turned ugly. Not a single 8th-order sovereign had returned alive. That confirmed one thing. Experts of the 8th-order sovereign realm and above would be hunted down by the giant space beasts if they entered the star cosmos. After all, the star cosmos was the territory of the giant space beasts. They could allow the weak and ants to enter their world. However, if the strong entered, it would be seen as an invasion. The powerful giant space beasts might even give the order to hunt them down. Therefore, after this investigation, The various peak powers no longer dared to allow 8th order sovereigns and above to enter. After all, the resources needed to nurture 8th order sovereigns were too much. Those who were able to cultivate to the 8th order sovereign realm were existences that had survived a cataclysm. In other words, they had survived a cataclysm. Only a small number of geniuses were born in that cataclysm. After this incident, the various peak powers also ordered that 8th order sovereigns and above were forbidden from entering the giant space beasts. If they really angered the terrifying giant space beasts, all the experts and disciples of the Nine Origins cosmos would die. Other than this news that caused a huge uproar, there were several other news that caused a huge uproar in the past 20,000 years. Another sovereign realm expert had been born. Moreover, it wasn't just one, but more than 20. Among these 20 over-experts, there were experts from the Invincible realm and experts from the various peak powers. These 20 over-experts did not include the disciples from the various peak powers. And this was only the known ones. How many were unknown? No one knew. Furthermore, this did not include the disciples from the various peak powers. In short, the breakthroughs of these experts caused a huge uproar. This was something that the disciples of the various Nine Origins cosmos did not dare to imagine. More and more disciples from the various Nine Origins cosmos came over. Even if it was dangerous, it was worth the risk. After all, some opportunities were too terrifying. In fact, this was normal. The star cosmos was a powerful cosmos that was not weaker than the Nine Origins cosmos. The entire Nine Origins cosmos had given birth to 12 peak powers and many sovereign realm experts. What about the star cosmos? Even though the giant space beasts had used up 50 to 60% of the treasures, there were still 40 to 50% left. Logically speaking, if all these treasures and resources were obtained by the disciples of the Nine Origins cosmos, it was possible that hundreds of thousands or even millions of sovereign realm experts would be born. This was the importance of opportunities and resources. Wang Xian had no idea what was happening in the outside world. He was constantly cultivating and had forgotten about time and space. 10,000 years, 20,000 years, 50,000 years, 150,000 years. Boom. A series of roars exploded in Wang Xian's mind once again as surges of energy rose from his body. Wang Xian, who was already prepared, had completely concealed the surges of energy. Ding. Congratulations to host for breaking through to the First Order Universe Sovereign Realm. Ding. Congratulations to host for breaking through and establishing the Nine Origin Dragon Domain. Name, Wang Xian Race. Nine Origins Divine Dragon, 1 with the Dragon rank. First Order Universe Ruler. 9 changes return to 1, Origin. 1%, 99% required for next breakthrough. Magic. Dominate the aquatic creatures. Dominate any aquatic creatures lower than your own level. Devour living things. Devour living things to extract the source. Control of the 5 elements cultivation technique. Divine Dragon Transformation Divine Powers. Soul Capture, Spirit Attachment Nomological Divine Abilities, Dragon. I lock 5 elements Dragon Claw, Yin Yang World Breaker. 8 Luminaries Dragon Scale, Holy Dragon Shadow. 8 Divisions of the Heavenly Dragon, Dragon Tomb, Soaring Cloud Dragon, True Dragon Body Law of Dharma. 8 Directional Dragon Pillar, 8 Dragon Clone, Towering Dragon Horn, Great Mighty Heavenly Dragon, Godly Tail Playing with Pearls, Dragon Breath of Life, Shadow Dragon Clone, Dark Dragon Pursuit, Dark Dragon Conversion, Wind Thunder Dragon Life, Berserk Dragon Starburst. Domain, 9 Origin Dragon Domain Law of Mastery. Metal, Wood, Water, Fire, Earth, Light, Darkness, Wind, Lightning Divine Kingdom. Dragon Palace Possess Dragon Palace. Innate. Dragon Palace Members. 8060450 inch After 150,000 years, I've broken through again. A smile appeared on Wang Xian's face as he felt a little excited. After cultivating for 160,000 years in the Fireheart Treasure Land, he had completed 2 breakthroughs. This time it was a qualitative breakthrough. His strength was comparable to a 6th Order Sovereign. With his current strength, he could kill a 3rd Order Sovereign Realm Giant Space Beast. This strength was already very terrifying. The next time I want to make a breakthrough, I'll probably have to go into seclusion for millions of years. The speed of improvement is getting slower and slower, Wang Xian murmured. He was already very satisfied that his strength had increased to this level. His eyes flickered as he looked to the side. According to his investigation, the 3 giant space beasts closest to him should be in the 3rd order sovereign realm. With his strength, he could fight against 3 of them alone. Of course, he wasn't going to attack the 3 giant space beasts. He didn't want to die yet. Instead, after this breakthrough, he could secretly summon the fire attribute experts from the Dragon Palace. If the fire attribute experts from the Dragon Palace could cultivate here, Wang Xian was sure that at least 5 out of 10 would break through. If a peak exalted realm disciple were to cultivate here for tens of thousands of years, at least 5 out of 10 would be able to make a breakthrough. The energy here was too terrifying. The energy here was too terrifying, too terrifying. As for the 5 who couldn't break through the shackles, Wang Xian had ways to help them. That was to absorb the energy at all costs, and then consume the eternal pregnancy fruit. Just like Wuxia and the other crazy demons, they could break through with brute force. In other words, as long as they had enough time to accumulate and consume treasures like the eternal pregnancy fruit, the chances of breaking through were 100%. This was definitely a very crazy thing. Wang Xian's eyes were burning with passion. He took out the communication stone plate that Wuxia had made and immediately sent a message. What's the situation with the disciples of the Dragon Palace? After sending the message, he waited quietly. Dragon King, over the past 20,000 years, 13 of our disciples have broken through to the sovereign realm. In addition, with your resources and the resources that the disciples of the Dragon Palace have received, we now have about 3,500 disciples in the peak venerable realm. We have gained a lot. However, over 20,000 disciples of the Dragon Palace have fallen in these 20,000 years. Soon Enlai, who was in charge of passing the message, sent a message. In the beginning, the Dragon Palace only sent a few thousand disciples into the starry universe. But as time passed, with the help of the powerful resources of the starry universe, the Dragon Palace sent over another 100,000 disciples. However, the death rate was nearly 1 in 5 out of 10. This was already a huge number. Fortunately, Enlai was here with the branch of the soul returning wood to revive them. All in all, over the past 20,000 years, the strength of the Dragon Palace had improved tremendously. The number of experts in the sovereign realm had increased by 13. Very good. Chapter 3740. Wang Xian was very satisfied with the improvement of the disciples of Dragon Palace. A dozen sovereigns were born in hundreds of thousands of years. This number was not small. However, none of the disciples of Dragon Palace obtained great opportunities. The dozen disciples were all at the peak of the venerable realm. It was a normal breakthrough. However, if we can bring the fire attribute disciples here, it will definitely improve the Dragon Palace greatly. Wang Xian murmured. He immediately informed all the fire attribute experts of Dragon Palace and instructed Enlai. He asked Enlai to bring the fire attribute disciples here. With the beast skin supporting a space, the disciples of Dragon Palace would improve tremendously if they could cultivate here. He just didn't know if they could succeed. There shouldn't be any problem, he thought to himself. He was already very strong now. The 3 giant beasts of starry sky closest to him were only 3rd order sovereigns. Wang Xian could use his energy to conceal himself from the giant beasts of starry sky. As long as the disciples of Dragon Palace could come here safely, they could cultivate here slowly. Wang Xian looked around and soon, Enlai sent a message. Everything is ready. Wang Xian shielded a space below him and placed the demonic spiritual altar below. Soon, Enlai and a fire divine dragon of Dragon Palace arrived. The fire divine dragon was in human form and had restrained all its aura. Coupled with Wang Xian's concealment, no one noticed the sudden arrival of Enlai and the rest. Greetings, Dragon King. Enlai and the disciples of Dragon Palace immediately transmitted their voices respectfully. You are now cultivating in seclusion here. Remember, you must restrain your mind. Otherwise, you will be destroyed if anything goes wrong. Wang Xian reminded him with a solemn tone. Yes, Dragon King. The disciple of Dragon Palace answered immediately. He sat cross-legged and began cultivating immediately. Because of the obstruction of Wuxia's body, the giant beasts of starry sky couldn't see him. As long as he didn't display the prowess of a divine dragon, there wouldn't be a problem. He looked around and smiled. Enlai, continue to bring another 1,000 fire attribute disciples of Dragon Palace here. Seeing that there were no accidents, Wuxia immediately ordered. Yes, Dragon King. Enlai answered immediately. Before long, 1,000 disciples of the Dragon Palace were sitting cross-legged at the spot where Wuxia had been standing. Streams of fire attribute energy flowed into their bodies, causing their strength to rise rapidly. This was a paradise for fire attribute experts to cultivate. For the disciples of the Dragon Palace who hadn't reached the Dominator level, it was a holy land for rapid transformation. Phew, not a big problem. Looking at the group of disciples cultivating, Wuxia revealed a smile. There were 7 or 8 species of star behemoths in the center of the Flame Heart Blessed Land. Each of them occupied an area and didn't disturb each other. Over the past hundreds of thousands of years, Wuxia could also sense that there were galactic beasts that had made breakthroughs. The commotion was huge. However, the other star behemoths only glanced at him briefly before continuing their breakthroughs. River water does not interfere with well water. If I want to break through again, it will take me millions of years. There is no need for me to stay here for the time being. I can go to other places to look for opportunities. At this moment, Wuxia had the thought of getting out. Even though this was a treasured land for cultivation, there were plenty of resources in the universe. With his current strength, he would be able to hunt down third-order sovereign realm space beasts. He could go and look for other opportunities. Even if he hunted down a third-order sovereign realm space beast, he could increase the number of venerable realm peak disciples in the Dragon Palace by 1,000. This was much more suitable than cultivating here. As he thought to himself, he took out some robots that he got from Lin Wenluo to support the beast's skin. Enlai, bring me out. In addition, you will stay here for the time being. Once the surrounding space behemoths make a move, immediately lead them away. Wuxia immediately instructed Enlai. Yes, Dragon King. Enlai nodded his head. Wang. Soon, Enlai set up a devil spirit altar not far away. Moving their figures, they flew out with Wuxia. Boom. After flying out of the Flame Heart Blessed Land, Wuxia couldn't help but stretch his body. Waves of terrifying energy surged into the surroundings. In the center of the Flame Heart Blessed Land, he had to constantly suppress his energy to prevent it from spreading. Now there was no need for that. At this moment, he was standing in a remote corner of a flaming planet in the Flame Heart Blessed Land. He moved his body and looked around. There are more and more experts and disciples here. They even set up a teleportation array here. Wuxia's eyes scanned the surroundings, and his eyes revealed a look of surprise. It seems that after cultivating in seclusion for more than 100,000 years, this place has changed greatly. He took out the communication stone plate and checked the situation in the past 100,000 years. When he saw the various information on the communication stone plate, his eyes lit up. So many things have happened in the past 100,000 years. I know that more than 20 experts from high-level races have broken through to the sovereign realm, but the most important news is that a group of experts from peak races have been killed. Wuxia's eyes lit up. The news of a group of experts at the 8th Order Sovereign Realm and above being killed was very important to him. What did this mean? This meant that in the Starry Sky universe, the strongest expert among the peak races was only in existence at the 7th Order Sovereign Realm, and he was in existence at the 6th Order Sovereign Realm. With the speed of the Dark Ghost Avatar and the unbeginning Sacred Wings, he could escape from the hands of a 7th Order Sovereign. If the 5 Elements Grindstone and the Tai Chi Dragon Plate can keep up with my strength, then I will have the strength to fight against a 7th Order Sovereign. In the Starry Sky universe, I will not have to fear the peak races, and I will have the opportunity to obtain more resources. Wuxia's heart was burning with excitement. This was a huge piece of good news for him. He looked around and checked the communication stone plate again. There were more and more cultivators gathering in the Flame Heart Blessed Land. There was a huge risk in gathering here. If there was a violent giant star beast attacking the surrounding experts and disciples, they would be in trouble. Therefore, as time passed, teleportation arrays were built here. Even if the giant star beast suddenly went berserk, they could escape immediately through the teleportation array. I'll make a trip to the storm continent first. After more than 100,000 years, there should be a lot of metal accumulated there. Wang Xian murmured as he flew towards a lively flaming planet. There was a teleportation array there that could teleport a certain distance, and he could save some time. Just as Wang Xian was about to fly over, a burst of energy suddenly erupted from a flaming planet not far away. Chapter 3741. Rumble, rumble, rumble. A surge of energy suddenly rose, attracting the attention of the surrounding experts and disciples. Wang Xian flew into the air and looked over curiously. On a fiery planet to the right, a gigantic sun suddenly rose up from the sky. Below the sun, there was a majestic shadow. What's going on? What happened? Is there a treasure? Let's go and take a look. Hurry, there might be a treasure. On the surrounding fiery planets, the experts looked over. Their eyes glowed as they immediately flew over. Wang Xian looked over and squinted his eyes, revealing a surprised look. An expert has broken through to the second-order universe sovereign realm. An expert from a pinnacle race? He murmured and hesitated for a moment. Then his body moved and he also flew in that direction. Ha ha ha, there's no treasure here, only your flame tyrant. Congratulations on breaking through again, Patriarch. Congratulations on breaking through again, Patriarch. At this moment, a series of excited laughter rang out, accompanied by a series of respectful shouts. These voices caused the surrounding experts to pause for a moment. What? Heavenly Fire Patriarch broke through again? Patriarch broke through again? Heavenly Fire Patriarch? How is that possible? It's only been a few 100,000 years, and Heavenly Fire Patriarch broke through again? SSS Heavenly Fire Patriarch broke through again. Doesn't that mean he has the strength of a second-order sovereign? How big was the opportunity that Heavenly Fire Patriarch obtained the last time? The eyes of the experts who were flying over shrunk slightly, and their faces were filled with shock. Heavenly Fire Patriarch was the first person to break through to the sovereign realm after entering the starry universe. He was also the first expert to discover the Fireheart treasure land. However, in just a few 100,000 years, he broke through again? This caused them to feel slightly incredulous. How long had it been? From a first-order sovereign to a second-order sovereign? How terrifying. Skyfire sect has already become a pinnacle race. Now that Heavenly Fire Patriarch has broken through again, Skyfire sect will have another huge development. It's hard to imagine what kind of treasure Heavenly Fire Patriarch obtained to improve so quickly. This is too heaven-defying. Patriarch Skyfire should be the one who obtained the greatest opportunity among all the experts. The surrounding discussions and shock continued to ring out. Haha, my Heavenly Fire sect is recruiting fire attribute experts. I will personally guide those who have reached the peak of the venerable realm. At this moment, the shadow under the sun above the fiery planet slowly solidified. Terrifying flames enveloped it, making it look extremely terrifying. The great sun above his head had risen by 2 levels. In this place he fully deserved to be called the Flame Tyrant. Even the experts on the fiery planet occupied by the Fire Phoenix looked over with twinkling eyes. This heavenly fire ancestor must have obtained an extremely powerful treasure. To be able to break through to Sovereign Realm in such a short time and advance another level, he must have a treasure in his hands. One of the Fire Phoenixes looked over, and his expression changed slightly. He flapped his wings slightly, a thoughtful look on his face. 100%. This speed of improvement is too terrifying. He definitely has some rare treasures in his hands. One of the Fire Phoenixes at the side also had a slightly heated gaze. This speed of improvement was too heaven-defying. It was so heaven-defying that they were a little jealous. Why don't we? One of the Fire Phoenixes looked at his companion with flickering eyes, a trace of murderous intent flashing in his eyes. If we make a move, it might not be a good influence. The Fire Phoenix at the side turned into his human form and frowned slightly. Not a good influence? We phoenixes don't need to care about the opinions of ants. The cataclysm will arrive in a few billion years. We need to improve our strength as soon as possible. The fire phoenix said. If the elders in our clan find out about this, they might blame us. The other fire phoenix was still hesitant. My grandfather is an elder. It's fine. If we can get a supreme treasure, it'll be worth it. The fire phoenix's eyes were filled with determination. He looked at his companion beside him and said, "If you don't make a move, I'll make a move." Fine. If he really has a powerful supreme treasure in his hands, it's worth it to make a move. The hesitant fire phoenix gritted his teeth, his eyes filled with murderous intent. They looked at each other and immediately flew forward. Not far away from them, a few fire phoenixes noticed their actions and their eyes flickered. I should have made a move first. One of the fire phoenixes murmured as he looked on emotionlessly. Wang Xian hovered in front of the blazing star, looking at the experts from the Phoenix clan who were brimming with power. But at this time, he sensed something and looked to the side. Two fire phoenixes were flying over at high speed. Based on Wang Xian's senses, they had the strength of a third-order universe lord. Chirp chirp. Flame monarch. Who dares to call himself the flame monarch in front of our fire phoenix? How arrogant and conceited. Suddenly, a phoenix chirp was heard, followed by a voice. Above the blazing star, Ancestor Skyfire, who was under the sun, looked over and was stunned. Fire phoenix, two fire phoenixes, what are they doing? Are they dissatisfied with Ancestor Skyfire, calling themselves the flame monarch in front of the fire phoenix? That must have angered the fire phoenix. When the surrounding disciples saw this, they were slightly shocked and whispered to each other. My two lords, my disciple was boasting shamelessly just now and offended the two fire phoenixes. Please forgive me. When Patriarch Skyfire saw the two fire phoenixes flying over with a denouncing look on their faces, he quickly explained. He lowered himself to a very, very low level. Although he had broken through to the second-order sovereign realm, he didn't dare to be arrogant in front of the Phoenix clan. After all, they were a powerful pinnacle race. There was still a huge gap between them. The pinnacle races are not to be offended. Anyone who dares to offend the pinnacle races will have to pay a terrible price. One of the fire phoenixes stared at him and said coldly. An imposing aura surged from his body. His words made Ancestor Skyfire's expression change drastically. His eyes were filled with a trace of solemnity and embarrassment. My lord, I was in the wrong just now. I was talking nonsense. If you want to punish someone, punish me. At this time, a middle-aged man knelt on the ground and shouted in fear. Ancestor Skyfire, follow us. The two fire phoenixes frowned when they saw this scene. Their eyes fell on Ancestor Skyfire as they ordered coldly. Their words made Ancestor Skyfire's heart tighten again. Chapter 3742. Ancestor Skyfire floated in the air, his expression constantly changing. Especially when he heard the words of the two experts from the Phoenix clan, he had a bad feeling in his heart. The situation in front of him was already very obvious. The Phoenix clan would not let him off so easily. As for why they would not let him off and why they would make such a big fuss over nothing, it was obvious that they were after his opportunity. The tallest tree in the forest would be destroyed by the wind. He had been too high profile. The speed of his improvement was too fast. So much so that he had attracted the attention of the Phoenix clan. Once he followed them, it was obvious that he would either have to hand over all his opportunities or die. In fact, to prevent his revenge, the Phoenix clan might even kill him even if he handed over his opportunities. The world of the strong was this tragic. Lords Phoenix, can you give me a chance to redeem myself? Ancestor Skyfire bowed and asked with a bitter expression. When the surrounding disciples saw this, they pursed their lips. They could vaguely guess the intentions of the two phoenixes. They wanted to snatch the treasure. You talk too much nonsense. I'll give you 2 seconds to choose. Seeing that he had rejected, the fire phoenix's expression darkened, and she said coldly. Ancestor Skyfire paused for a moment, and his expression kept changing. This time I have sinned. Lords of the Phoenix clan, please punish me. Patriarch Heavenly Fire took a deep breath, bowed again and said, it was impossible for him to leave with them. With the strength of the Phoenix clan, he did not know what would happen. Here, under the gaze of the surrounding disciples, there was a last glimmer of hope. Courting death. However, to Heavenly Fire Ancestor's horror, one of the fire phoenixes did not hesitate in the slightest. As soon as he finished speaking, his figure instantly appeared beside Heavenly Fire Ancestor. His phoenix claw instantly grabbed Ancestor Skyfire's head. What? No. Ancestor Skyfire's face was filled with horror and despair when he saw this instantaneous destructive attack. Ancestor. The surrounding experts and disciples of the Heavenly Fire sect had a drastic change in expression as they shouted loudly. However, at this moment no one dared to make a move. No one had the strength to do so. The claw of the phoenix landed on Patriarch Skyfire's head and crushed it. The terrifying power of the phoenix engulfed Patriarch Skyfire's body. Patriarch Heavenly Fire was instantly engulfed. His strength was only at the second-order sovereign realm. Compared to the third-order sovereign realm Fire Phoenix, there was still a huge gap. SSSSS. Killed. To think that the Phoenix race would actually kill Old Master Heavenly Flames. This is a direct attack to kill. This old ancestor Tianhua is too miserable. It wasn't easy for him to rise up, but he was killed by an expert of the Phoenix clan. None of the surrounding disciples had expected such a scene. They looked at him in shock. As the first person to break through to the second-order sovereign realm, the Heavenly Fire Ancestor was undoubtedly everyone's hope and motivation. Everyone hoped that they would be able to obtain a great opportunity like Patriarch Heavenly Fire. But now Heavenly Fire Patriarch, who had obtained a great opportunity, was killed by the Phoenix clan, a top clan. What? You're courting death. How dare you challenge the dignity of our Phoenix clan? After killing Old Master Heavenly Fire, the eyes of the Fire Phoenix were filled with hostility. He sensed the corpse of Old Master Heavenly Fire, waved his arm, and kept it. Wang Xian's eyes flickered when he saw this scene from the side. These top clans were really unscrupulous. The purpose of the two Fire Phoenixes was too obvious. So obvious that everyone could tell that they were here for the resources of Old Master Heavenly Fire. His eyes swept across the two Fire Phoenixes, and then looked at the fiery star occupied by the Fire Phoenix. The corner of his mouth curved slightly. All the surrounding disciples did not dare to say anything when they saw this scene. Is this the Phoenix clan? The Old Master Heavenly Fire from a top clan finally obtained a great opportunity and broke through to the sovereign realm. But he was killed by you guys. Hehe. The resources of the Nine Origins cosmos have always been occupied by the top clans like you. Now that the top clans have obtained a great opportunity, they are being hunted and killed by the Phoenix clan. The experts and disciples of the other top clans are really ants in the eyes of the Phoenix clan. But at this time, a voice suddenly reverberated in the surroundings and reached everyone's ears. When everyone heard this voice, they were slightly taken aback. Their faces were filled with astonishment and shock. They immediately looked towards the source of the voice. Everyone's eyes were on that figure. The person who had spoken was naturally Wang Xian. If it were any other race, Wang Xian might not have opened his mouth or offended the other party for no reason. However, Wang Xian was different. But it was different when the other party was from the Phoenix clan. He and the Phoenix clan. There was enmity. When the two Fire Phoenixes heard Wang Xian's sarcastic words, their faces darkened, and their eyes were filled with coldness. Their daunting auras charged towards Wang Xian directly. You're courting death for insulting the Fire Phoenix clan. One of the Fire Phoenixes bellowed with murderous intent. The terrifying flames swept out, and even a first-order sovereign realm expert would be incinerated in an instant under the flames. However, what shocked everyone was that the flames did not have any effect. That figure was still standing there calmly. He looks like the Dragon King. That's right, he's the Dragon King. Dragon King? The Dragon King of the Dragon Palace. Judging by his appearance, he should be the Dragon King. Just at this time, someone recognized Wang Xian. The beast skin made by Lin Wenluo was in the center of the Fire Heart Treasure Land. Wang Xian's appearance was no longer concealed. In addition, he was resisting the faint aura emitted by the flames. Immediately, some experts recognized him. Wang Xian was now a very famous expert in the Nine Origins universe, let alone the others. He was the Dragon King who led the Dragon Palace back to the pinnacle. He was an invincible existence that swept across the Invincible domain. As expected of the Phoenix clan. You treat those below the pinnacle as ants. Back then, when I was in the Invincible domain, the experts of your Phoenix clan secretly sent a deacon disciple to kill me. Now because Ancestor Skyfire obtained a powerful opportunity, he was killed by you guys with a simple reason. Why? Do you still want to eliminate me now? Wang Xian stared at them and asked sarcastically. His words once again caused everyone in the surroundings to be filled with shock. At the same time, the eyes of the experts and disciples flickered. Chapter 3743. Dragon King of Dragon Palace? Upon hearing Wang Xian, the two fire phoenixes stared at him coldly. Dragon King of Dragon Palace. They had naturally heard of this name. In fact, they even knew some things that had happened in the Invincible domain. Back then, a large number of disciples from the Fire Phoenix race had besieged the Dragon King, but all of them had been killed by him. Upon hearing Wang Xian's words and seeing his mocking expression, the two Fire Phoenixes were embarrassed. They had publicly announced that they had killed Heavenly Flame Ancestor for the opportunity he had obtained. If this news were to spread, it would indeed have a great impact on the Fire Phoenix clan. Dragon King of Dragon Palace, do you know what you are saying? One of the Fire Phoenixes stared at him with murderous intent. What am I saying? I'm speaking the truth, am I not? There were so many experts and disciples watching. They were not blind or deaf. Everyone had their own opinions about what had happened just now. Just this reason alone was enough to kill Heavenly Fire Great Ancestor, who had finally obtained a fated chance. Was this the Phoenix clan? I've seen it for myself. Wang Xian continued, his eyes filled with mockery. The surrounding experts and disciples were filled with admiration when they heard this. Everyone had clearly seen what had happened just now. Obviously, the Fire Phoenixes had killed and snatched the treasure. Otherwise, why would they have kept the corpse after killing him? This was too obvious. At the same time, they felt sorry for the loss of their own kind. No matter what, Heavenly Flame Ancestor had broken through to the sovereign realm from a high-level race after obtaining an opportunity. He had become the envy of many experts and disciples from high-level races. And because he had obtained a huge opportunity, he had been killed by experts from the Phoenix race? Because the Fire Phoenixes wanted to snatch his opportunity? That was simply too tragic. Just as the Dragon King had said, the resources of the Nine-Source universe were already occupied by the pinnacle races. In the end, he had risked his life to obtain a huge opportunity, only to have it snatched away by experts from the pinnacle races? Who could accept this? Today it was Heavenly Flame Ancestor. What if they obtained the opportunity tomorrow, and were discovered by the pinnacle races and killed? Although there was no such thing as fairness in the universe, the actions of the pinnacle races were too chilling and horrifying. Spreading lies. Dragon King of Dragon Palace, you must be courting death. The two Fire Phoenixes' faces darkened. They flapped their wings slightly and roared with murderous intent. Die. One of the Fire Phoenixes flapped its wings and directly charged over. Haha, I'm just trying to mislead the public. Fire Phoenix, justice is in the hearts of the people. Your actions are no different from treating the disciples of the Peak clans like ants. In the future, if a disciple of a Peak clan obtains a great opportunity, I think you will kill him and seize his opportunity. Your Phoenix clan is really despicable. Wang Xian shouted loudly with disdain in his eyes when he saw a Fire Phoenix charging at him. Dragon King, be careful. Oh no, the Dragon King is in trouble. These two Fire Phoenixes are extremely powerful. This is bad. Although the Dragon King is very strong, he is definitely not a match for the Fire Phoenix. At present, the Dragon Palace has not been upgraded to the pinnacle race. When the Fire Phoenix launched its attack, some of the disciples couldn't help but discuss. This time they stood beside the Dragon King. Everything that happened just now was just as the Dragon King had said. This caused every disciple to feel extremely aggrieved. Could it be that the disciples of high-level clans didn't have a chance to stand out? Could it be that the opportunities they obtained were going to be used by the peak clans? At this moment, all the disciples hoped that the Dragon King could leave this place as soon as possible. You are trying to mislead the public with your lies and slander the Phoenix clan. Today, I'll slaughter a puny Dragon King like you. When the Fire Phoenix that was charging overheard the voices around him, his eyes were filled with violent murderous intent. Chirp chirp. He let out a phoenix cry as a ball of flames gathered in front of him and charged towards Wuxia. Do you really think I'm the old ancestor of heavenly fire that you can kill as you please? Wuxia looked at his attack with a cold expression. Wang. In the next moment, before the flames of the phoenix could reach him, he had already disappeared. Wuxia's figure appeared beside that fire phoenix, just a distance of 12 meters. Brother Ming, watch out. When the other fire phoenix saw Wuxia appearing beside his comrade out of nowhere, his eyes narrowed and he quickly shouted. Kill him. I've been stating a fact. However, since you guys want to kill me, then die. Wuxia stared at the fire phoenix beside him. His arm turned into a dragon claw and sank into the body of the fire phoenix instantly. What? How is this possible? The fire phoenix that was attacked trembled violently. His eyes widened and were filled with disbelief. How did the Dragon King of Dragon Palace appear beside him in an instant? Why couldn't he sense his speed? He was in existence at the Third Order Universe Sovereign Realm. If he couldn't even sense the speed of the Dragon King, then what about his strength? How strong was he? Fifth Order Universe Lord? However, he didn't have much time to think. He could feel the vitality in his body depleting rapidly. A phoenix coil. Sensing death approaching, he roared with all his might. Umph. However, a cold snort sounded in his mind and a violent tremor formed in his body. He felt his breathing stagnating as he lost control of his energy and his consciousness gradually blurred. I'm not someone that a puny fire phoenix like you can kill. Wuxia stared at him coldly. With a wave of his arm, his corpse disappeared instantly. In the next moment, he attacked the other fire phoenix. How dare you? How dare you kill an expert of my Phoenix clan? Dragon King, you're courting death. My Phoenix clan will definitely annihilate your Dragon Palace. On the other side, when Fire Phoenix saw this scene and Wuxia charging towards her, she roared in shock and anger. The Dragon King of Dragon Palace had killed a comrade of the same level as him in an instant. A Fire Phoenix that killed a Third Order Universe Lord in an instant. Third Order Cosmos Sovereigns. They were already extremely strong. However, this Dragon King could kill it in an instant. How strong was the Dragon King? What realm was the Dragon King in? That Fire Phoenix was killed by the Dragon King in an instant. Killed in an instant. What kind of strength does the Dragon King have? How can he be so terrifying? Too strong, simply too strong. A Third Order Sovereign Fire Phoenix. Is the Dragon King also a sovereign? He's even more terrifying than before. At this time, exclamations of shock rang out from the surrounding area. All the experts and disciples looked on blankly. Killing a Third Order Sovereign Fire Phoenix in an instant? Is this the Dragon King? You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.